Grand rising, my people. Grand rising, my people. Coming with a new one, another one. Okay, let's do this. All right. Grand rising, my people. Okay, so this is what I want to get with y'all this morning. So I want to talk about something real quick and see if any of y'all was, aware of this right here, right? So, and this right here is mainly, this video right here is for the young kids. Okay? Listen. So, throughout this process, since this incident happened with my son, I noticed that the person that had really been the strongest throughout this whole situation was my youngest daughter, okay? She was the strongest. And it's a reason for that right there. You know what I'm saying? Just looking back at it with a different set of eyes, right? So, check this out. Let's talk about when the babies come in, okay? So, when the babies come in, they're coming from a place where typically you go when you leave here, right? So, they're coming into the world. They done been here before, okay? So therefore, like for me, when a new child or a new baby or something, when they are born and they come into the world, once they get to me, I typically say, welcome back. That's what I tell them, welcome back. You know what I'm saying? Because they done been here and they coming back for a reason, right? But attached to them coming back is the energy that they have. See, babies and kids, at least up to the age of 5, I want to say. At least up to around about the age of 5. It could be 3 to 5 or something like that. But those kids, man, they carry pure energy. And their energy is nothing but gold. You know what I'm saying? And so I noticed that at the time when I was going through this right here with my son, mind you, I still got a young daughter behind him. So it's people out here that's going through this right here as well. Because, I know it's some people like, how do you deal with that with your daughter? You know what I'm saying? What happened? How do you cope with your daughter and deal with your son all at the same time? But I'm going to tell you, she actually was more help than anything. Okay? My daughter, she was more help than anything. And see, here's the thing. What I had to do was, for one, I had to make sure that her energy was right, because initially when I told her about her brother, she ain't feel too good and you could feel the energy drop. But see, here's the thing. When you dealing with situations like that right there, you going to find out that your energy is going to be upheld by the youngest kids. Because they got pure energy. They don't have no negative energy. They got pure golden energy. You see what I'm saying? They energy is what's radiant at that time. And let me tell you a couple pointers about their energy. When them kids come around, you smile, you pick them up. You know what I'm saying? They don't understand what's going on. They are there for a reason. In the spirit realm, they are there for a reason. I didn't see this right here at the time. So what did I have to do? What my spirit was telling me at the time was protect that. I didn't think of it like this at that time, but my spirit was telling me, hey, protect that. So what did I have to do to protect that? Because you're going to do it anyway. This is what I'm saying. You're going to do it anyway. So how did it help you on the spirit end? Well, when that child came around for the biggest end, you tried to clean yourself up. You ain't want that child to see you crying. You ain't want to be around your child all distorted. You see what I'm saying? And then her spirit, with her spirit being up and yours being down, it kind of like put a balance in there. You know what I'm saying? It kind of like balanced the energy out. This is what's happening with the little kid. And some of y'all probably might not recognize this because of what's going on, you know what I'm saying, at the time. But these kids' energy, man, is so pure, and you want to protect that. So this is what I did. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. This is what I did to try to protect my daughter's energy. You know, for one, she had other siblings. See, all her siblings are older siblings. You know what I'm saying? And they were around. They did a hell of a job. You know what I'm saying? And even with her being around her older siblings, they were not able to operate out of a place of sadness. They had to kind of like shield that. You see what I'm saying? So for my daughter, what I had to do to protect that innocence in her, because these kids are born with innocence. We the ones that tank these kids. But to protect her innocence in a case like this right here, y'all, guess what? She wasn't able to go to the wake. I didn't allow her to go to the wake, because when you go to the wake, you got other people. There's people that's there that have really low energy, okay? Crying and everything. That would have been her first time seeing something like that, and she probably really wouldn't have understood what it was. And then that energy radiates off on her. Y'all, you messing up your go-to for you. You messing up your go-to, you know, to rejuvenate your energy, because these kids, that's what happens. Your energy is rejuvenated through the kids. You see what I'm saying? At times like this right here. So, I kept her away from the wake. I kept her away from the burial grounds. I didn't allow her to go and see that. Okay? I didn't allow her to go to the cemetery. You see what I'm saying? That right there protected her energy. You see what I'm saying? You don't want them to see that. Now, for some people, you might say, because this right here was my mindset at one point in time. At some point in time, they got to see this, because I was so used to going to services, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, knowing the tradition of how services is ran, I know one day they're going to have to see this. But you don't do that. You don't do that, because spiritually, if you're going on the spirit realm, there are energies that's looking for that energy of that child. You know what I'm saying? Because it's so pure. You don't want to taint that, and you don't want nothing messing with that right there, for real. Now, it was the reasons for me not doing that, for me not allowing her to go to see these things, is because what that does psychologically is it does something to their mind. And now the purity in them is gone. It's turned into fear. You see what I'm saying? These kids are scared. You don't want to do that, okay? You don't want to scare your kid, you know, by default. You don't know that you're doing this, though. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you don't know that you're doing it. But if you're listening to me now, you know that you're doing this. I would recommend that kids do not attend funerals, no burial grounds, no none of that stuff if you can help it. The only reason she went to the service was because, quite obviously, I mean, she had to go. You know, everybody was there. You know what I mean? Everybody was there. I couldn't keep her from that part. I could, and I did keep her from the burial grounds. I didn't allow her to see that. You know what I'm saying? So right now, when in dealing with the passing of her brother, she have her moments. Don't get it twisted. But her moments ain't like the moments of the adults, because we know, and she don't know, she don't understand it to the degree that the adults do, which allows her to maintain the purity of her energy, because she don't understand that. So she don't know what it's like to really feel down. She don't know the extent of that right there. You know what I'm saying? So she's allowed to maintain the purity of her energy, of her spirit is still there. So guess what? She's going to come around when you down and stuff like that. And she's going to ask for a hug at the times when you least expect it. Man, when you give your child a hug, if you down and everything, you could literally feel, it's like an exchange of energy or something, man. It's like, you could feel it. You could feel like the energy is like a relief, energy or something, or like a release of energy or something when you hug that child. If you ever been that, you know what I'm saying? Find a child that's just playing around the house. You know what I'm saying? You don't stop that. You know, you kind of like keep little regulations and stuff like that on it. See, those kids are still connected to a spot where we not connected to, you know, on the physical end. Those kids are kind of like really still in between realms and stuff like that from the time that they born up to like maybe, like I said, between 3 and 5 years old. You know what I'm saying? This right here is how you can be listening to these kids in other rooms by themselves talking to you. If you're not, you know, here, if you didn't do the work, or you're not thinking about it like that, if you still thinking physically, you gonna ask them who you talking to. You know what I'm saying? You gonna see it there and there. They sound like they talking to themselves. Don't interrupt that. Okay? Anytime you walk up on these little kids, you know, these little babies and these little kids and stuff, anytime that you walking up on that and they're talking to themselves in a room where ain't nobody in there but them, you let them talk. Don't even let them know that you're there. Kind of stand by the door or something like that. You know, what we gonna do? We gonna ear hustle. That's what we gonna do. We gonna ear hustle on these kids, on these little kids, because they are connected to something that you're not familiar with, and you can learn a lot from that. You see what I'm saying? So this right here was, and speaking of learning a lot from that and these kids, because my son was so young, you know, when he got here, I was teaching him. You see what I'm saying? But now because he done went back into the other realm, he actually is teaching me now. You see what I'm saying? When you do the spirit work, you would get that. You would understand that. But right now, my son is actually teaching me. You know, through spirit. But in order for you to see that, you got to do the work. Got to come away. We're going to have to come away from that physical end and protect the spirit end. And like I said, the pure spirit end on the physical realm is going to be in the kids. It's going to be in the children. They pure. They play around. You know what I'm saying? Like my daughter, throughout this process, she was still, as long as it was company around, hey, my daughter, hey, she was happy. It was, you know, not saying that she forgot about her brother, but it didn't hit her like that. She was, again, still able to maintain her energy within her. And she don't recognize this either. She don't consciously recognize this. Subconsciously, she may. But I'm telling you, subconsciously, when that kid come around, everybody that was down, they start to smile. They gonna smile. They gonna do something, even if, because the energy won't allow you to be like that around that child. So either you gonna smile, you gonna tell that child to go to another room. The energy of that child would not be able to be around you at a downside like that. You know what I'm saying? For the biggest end. If your energy is so low, you know what I'm saying, because of a tragedy or something, you know what I'm saying, that happened where it cost somebody real close to you their life. You know what I'm saying? If your energy is real low, you gonna say, hey, get that child up out of here, even because maybe you don't want them to see you like this. But it's the energy that you really didn't subconsciously pay attention to. Didn't consciously pay attention to. Subconsciously you did. Because it was your spirit that moved you away from, or removed that pure spirit away from yours, at least for the time being. You see what I'm saying? So that's the reason why, you know, that it's important that you make sure that you maintain these kids' energy. Because that's what I was doing, hey, with mine, but I didn't know that I was doing it to that extent. You know what I'm saying? Again, at that time, maybe I was up under some type of spirit work and I didn't know that. See, and that's why I tell y'all to pay attention to that kind of stuff. So I pay attention to my daughter's energy. I pay attention to how she moving. So I know when she down. I know when it's the same way if you was looking at your child and you knew that your child was sick. You know what I'm saying? You know when something ain't right with your child. When you know your child, you just know your child. And it ain't no, how do you know that this is right, or how do you just know. Okay? You just know, just like you know your child, you just know. You know, it's like a biological thing to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you breathe? I don't know how I breathe. I just breathe. You know what I'm saying? What you mean? How do I know? I just breathe. You know, that something like that. You know what I mean? That's the way you want to be when it comes down to protecting that energy for your child. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I do. So some of the things, you know, don't be all that. This right here is one of the reasons for real why it kind of like grind my gears when I hear people talking to their kids so rough. Y'all ever had that right there before? Have y'all ever been somewhere and y'all just hear somebody just cussing their kids out? These are little kids. They call them little MFs. Get your stupid A's in here, and calling them stupid at young ages, man. I've had that right there. And you let some of them just let it roll off their tongue. Their kids might laugh it off or something like that, but you don't understand what you are doing to your child. So now you taking all the best energy that you got in the house, you turning that energy and you tainting it. You are tainting the best energy that you got in the house because of what you're saying to that child, not realizing that what coming out your mouth are actual spells. The words that you speak, they go and they speak things into existence. That's how powerful you are. But if you knew that, then you would control a little bit more better with how you use that, so to say. You know what I'm saying? You got to know that though. And you don't know that because why? Because you too focused on the physical, and the physical is just a mere limitation of the actual powers that you actually hold. Some of the powers that you actually hold, you could do it on the spirit end while you're physical. But the physical is really limiting the amount of power, the amount of energy, the amount of things that you can do as an individual. Your physical holds you back from that. Okay? You know, if you knew the type of stuff that you can do and knew that your physical was giving you limitations on what you can do, man, it wouldn't be so hard to believe the stuff that they were saying about Jesus. You see what I'm saying? It wouldn't be so hard because you would know this stuff. Well, here's the thing. Them kids, they know it. They can't speak it to you. They can't speak it to you. That's why when these kids is coming out, don't get them vaccinated. You don't get this right here. You don't let them do that. Don't let them do that because you don't know what type of they mind is still developing. And then you put an unknown substance, a foreign substance in their body, it could, you know, do something to the chemistry of their brain or something like that and take them completely out of what they supposed to be. You see what I'm saying? They might know that and you don't. You think that, yeah, I'm just doing this right here to make sure that my baby stay healthy. No, that's what you think. But again, that's how demons work. They make it look good. They make it do, I'm telling you, very clever, very clever. And when you do the work, you won't be able to see him. So now you do the work and you turn around and now you have another baby and you turn around and them same demons come in there trying to put this poison inside your child. And you look at that and you say, why would you do that? Don't no other species got to do that. No other species go and do that. So it's something that they're doing. It ain't just trying to protect and keep something off because you got a immune system. You got a naturally built-in doctor already inside your born within you. You're a perfect being. You know what I'm saying? For real. You just don't look at it that way because of the way that you think. You see what I'm saying? The way you think. That child is a perfect being. That child know that they're a perfect being. It ain't until you come along and tell them what they can and can't do and start limiting their abilities. That's what tend to happen. That's why I said in a lot of these cases now, looking at it now, when it came down to my last two kids, I didn't do that. I didn't do that because I learned over time. This right here was before my son passed. What happened, what I would do with them kids, I would let them just freestyle being a kid so you could see what they're thinking, what they want to become without your interference now, because you're not there to dictate what they want to become because they have their own path. That's not for you to dictate their path. What you are there to do is to make sure that you keep them safe. You know what I'm saying? What you there is to make sure that they don't do stuff like stick stuff in the plug. You know what I'm saying? You there to make sure they don't run out in the street. You know what I'm saying? Make sure they don't stick their hand in a fan and stuff like that right there. Because mind you, in the purest energy, they able to do all that and it does not affect them. On the pure energy, on the spirit end, it does not affect them to be able to do stuff like that. Okay. So when they get back here in the physical realm as a newborn and they coming up and they have to relearn this stuff again, they still operating as if they on the spirit realm as a baby. They don't understand this. They learning how to be physical. They learning how to talk. They're learning how to walk. On the spirit end, you don't have to do all that. And that's the way that they still believe that they're operating from on the spirit end. Because as a baby, that's exactly where they at. They can't speak to you. They can't tell you it. But that's where they at. You know what I'm saying? But that's too far-fetched for some of us to believe. And I know it might sound crazy. But them kids is the tool. And that's probably why they're under attack. That's why you protect your child at all costs. You protect their innocence at all costs. What you listening to? No, you can't listen to that. No, watch what you singing. Watch out for these catchy little phrases that they put inside the music to grab the kids in. You know what I'm saying? Watch out for that because, again, these kids, when they speak, just like I said, they got the same gift that you got. Everybody got that same gift. You speak stuff into existence, everybody could do that. You ain't just, I'm not the only one that can do that. Everybody could do that. And that include the kids too. So that's why they say be mindful of the tongue, because sometimes you can say stuff and you done spoke some stuff into existence, but you just talking and you not paying attention. All this stuff is just subconscious. So it's just like if you, talking to somebody, you know what I'm saying? And you done said some stuff. Hey, when all that stuff come back to hit you all at one time and you like, why am I having so much bad luck? Or why is this? Because you done spoke it into existence at some point in time. You got to remember, you know what I'm saying? And the crazy part is it goes so far back in your subconscious, you don't think about it. Just like you don't think about how many times you breathe in a day. Like if you want to say, you know what, I'm going to count every last single breath that I do today, and I'm going to count it with my mind. At some point in time, either A, you're going to lose count, or B, you're going to forget to count. You know what I'm saying? And then you ain't going to remember those that you forgot to count. You see what I'm saying? And that's the way it works when you speaking, talking to people and having conversations with different people throughout the course of the day, throughout the course of the week, the month, and, on and on and on. You tend to not remember each and every last word that you said to each and every last person over time. But each and every last word that you done spoken, all that stuff right there came out as laying the foundation to something down the future for you. So that's the reason why it's important that you speak highly of yourself. It's important that you speak highly of other people and actually mean it. Because when you're not doing the work like that, it's not going to come to you in return. It's going to come back to you the way you sent it out on the spirit end, period. You know what I'm saying? That's just how that's going to work. And so now going back to my daughter though, her energy was able to be kept up. And guess what? For her sisters, cause she had her older sisters, she got some older sisters, they was doing their thing with her. And guess what? By default, their energy was kept up. Because even if they had to play like they was happy, just because she was around, see, that's how that works. Even if you had to set your grief and stuff aside for a minute because that child was there, that's how it works. Do not write these things off. Don't write them off. These things are guides. These right here things are like little pillars and everything that you grab on to. You know what I'm saying? For recovery purposes. Now at this point, that's the way it seemed like. And so you could take whatever you're going through a lot easier. And I'm telling you, that right there feel a lot better than somebody coming to you, patting you on the back saying he's in the house with the Lord. The Lord gonna take care of him from here on out. And you like, man, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear nothing about he in the house of the Lord forever and all this other stuff. Well, I tell you what feels better than that. Grab a child and give him a hug. You hug a child. You know what I'm saying? If you could find the youngest one, I'm telling you, if you could find the baby, get the baby. You know what I'm saying? That will help you. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't hurt them. It doesn't hurt them because their energy is too pure. It absorbed that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? With no effect to them. For real. You know what I'm saying? It seems like that's what they are there for. When babies are around, the energy in a room seem to be much lighter. You know what I'm saying? Everybody got a respect for that baby. Don't smoke around that baby. You go outside. See what I'm saying? The energy, it don't allow you to do this, right? It's a newborn baby. Don't do that. There's certain things that, like, you can speak certain things into your child while your child is in your womb. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. And then the fact that both kids was born underwater. Water holds some type of energy too, but both kids was born underwater. That meant something too. I didn't know that. It was just something that I called myself doing as a natural thing. So now years later, when you sit back and you just watching, only thing you doing is observing. That's all you want to do. You want to observe and you want to get in there and you want to, intervene when needed, not because you want to, because you don't want to mess this up. You don't want to mess this up. You don't want to mess up their way of thinking to where they scared to think a certain way because of you. You know what I'm saying? At times, if you could hear them doing this, grab your phone and record because you never know. They could be talking to somebody and listen to the names that they say when you hear them talking by themselves. If they're in there playing with action figures and stuff like that, listen to the name that they call the action figure. You know what I'm saying? If they come up with their own name, listen to that name. Record it and just listen to it over time. I'm telling you, they talking to somebody and they not just talking to themselves and they not just being kids and just, they got something going on up there. I'm telling you, them kids are smarter than what you give them credit for. And you take them away from that by the way that you talk to them, the way you speak to them, the names that you give them, the way you speak at them. You know what I'm saying? These kids still in diapers and you cussing and you fussing and all type of stuff. See, that's evil within you. And that's a strong evil. And that needs to be fixed. But anyway, I'm not about to make this thing right here no longer than what it has to be. I just wanted to get on here, real quick, share that with you guys, let you guys know that when it comes down to it, it's the kids' energy that is the purest. And you protect that at all costs. Like right now, my daughter is just getting around to the point to where she's saying something about graves and stuff like that. So she kind of like, she hinting at it, but guess what? I'm not going to hit the gas on it. I'm going to have to wait for her to come around with that, because that's going to be another can of worms to open and say, okay, wait a minute. If you told your child that they sibling or done went to heaven, it's like, well, why is he in the ground? Now that's another thing that you got to explain. You know what I'm saying? You protect yourself away from that. You don't want to do that right there, because now you stepping into the realm of possibly messing up that child's energy. You know what I'm saying? And this right here is the reason why I say you don't take them to funerals and stuff like that. I would not recommend you taking a child to a funeral, because they're going to look at that stuff and it's scary. To a child, it's scary. It's one thing when you tell them the story about the monsters and stuff like that. That's the reason why I don't tell my kids those stories no more. I used to say stuff like that to, just scare the kids, just little out of fun. But you don't do that right there. Don't do that out of fun no more. Don't you do that. Don't tell them kids no scary stories and stuff like that out of fun. And then later on down in life, you took them to a funeral and then they had to see that person in that coffin like that. Do you know how long that stuff stick with them kids? You know how long that stick with them? Now you can't get no rest. They don't want to go to the bathroom. They in your room. They scared to sleep in their own room and stuff like that. And they seeing stuff, and the stuff that they seeing is scary to them versus it being stuff that they used to seeing, that used to not be scary to them. You see what I'm saying? The funerals and stuff like that is not a place for kids. It's not a place for kids. I don't think nobody, the young kids should stay away from that right there, period. I think we all should stay away from them, but definitely keep them kids away from them funerals. Keep them kids away from them funerals. It's going to be hard to tell her, because it was hard for me to tell my son his sister passed away. Actually, you heard me tell my son that his with the past. It's gonna come a time where, yeah. It may come a time where you might have to, just open that up. But, right now, I'ma ride it out. I'ma ride it out until hopefully she get a little older. You know what I'm saying? Like, she get a little older and actually be able to fluently speak it out, and not that of a 5-year-old or, 4-year-old or something like that, because I don't believe she really, like, she couldn't give you no details of what happened that day of that incident. She can't give you those details right now. She's still too young. So you might have to wait till she get about 10, 15 years old or something like that. When she can actually go back to a time where she could remember. It's going to take some time for her to remember that. So when she get a little older and she able to, know certain things, you know what I'm saying? The real right from wrongs, when she come with the 12, 13-year-old mind, or in some cases, these kids are much more advanced than what we were at their age. So that right there might be when she get 8, 9 years old. You know what I'm saying? When she get around to, is when she start questioning, you know what I'm saying, to the degree to where I know that she'll understand when I give her the answer. You know what I mean? That's what I want to do, that to the point to where she'll understand. But right now, she still got a up spirit about her. She still got a childlike spirit about her. And, you kind of want to keep it that way. You know what I mean? Because that's hard dealing with if you done lost a child and they got siblings, man, you got to deal with that too. You got to deal with that. Yeah. And the way that they handle it might be different than the way you handle it. Yeah, man, that was tough. That's tough. And we needed all hands on deck for the youngest child. And that's why I said, man, when that youngest child was around, everybody pretty much catered to the youngest child. You know what I'm saying? Because of the energy. Everybody wanted to keep her energy going. And that right there kept everybody else's energy around. Everybody wanted to pick her up. Everybody wanted to take her somewhere. Everybody wanted to buy her things. You know, I'm talking about, like, for real. You know, that's it. That's it. So I'm not going to tell her, you know, I'm not going to put that on her just yet. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to wait. Her spirit is going to tell me when the time is right, when, you know, when to move, and when she should know things like that right there, because right now ain't the time. The energy needs to stay where it's at, and it's up to you and it's up to me to protect that. You know what I'm saying? Flat out. That was that was one of the hardest things for me to do. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't know how I was gonna tell her. I ain't know how to sugarcoat it. It really wasn't no way of sugarcoating this thing, man. This girl was in the hospital. Talking about Junior not on Roblox. You know what I'm saying? She's in the hospital like, is Junior in the room like me? And she can't wait to get out because she can't wait to get back to Junior. And the whole time that this right here was going on, it was like she was in the hospital. She stayed in the hospital for about a week or so. And the whole time this stuff right here was going on, man, it was like we knew that Junior was gone, but we let that right there ride out. We didn't tell her right off the bat. We couldn't tell her right off the bat. You know what I'm saying? We had to wait and drag this thing out until we couldn't drag it out no more. And when was that right there? When it was time for them doctors to release her, baby. When it was time for them doctors to release her. When she had to come home. And now you can't hide it no more because Junior ain't coming out that bedroom, baby. Junior ain't here. You can't say he gone with his cousins and all this other stuff. She want to know when he coming back. She gonna keep on. That's why I said it's better to go ahead and tell the truth, because if you lie about that right there, you know what I'm saying? Eventually it's gonna come back again. It's gonna come back again. It's gonna come back again until that answer is met. And so we knew that before it got to that point, we was gonna have to tell her, and the best time to do that was right before she got ready to leave the hospital. But to juice that up, you know what I'm saying, to kind of, because she was sad behind that. I didn't think that she would understand that, but when you said that, like the look on her face, I'd never forget that. See, it's stuff in this right here that you would never forget right here, and you got to live with that right there. If you the one on the receiving end of this right here, you got to live with that right there. But the look that was on her face was just priceless. You know what I'm saying? That girl started crying and everything, and you didn't know that it would affect her like that. You know, I mean, you kind of like didn't know what to expect. You know what I mean? You kind of like really didn't know what to expect, but you gotta say it. You gotta say it. And so somebody gotta be strong enough to tell her that right there. And so now what we gotta do to keep this right here going, we gotta make sure that when she get home, it's like a welcome home. Hey, welcome home. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Have a lot of company over there. Put a lot of balloons and put a lot of colors and stuff like that. Like you gotta, and while you doing this right here, simultaneously, while you doing this by default, you kind of like helping and dealing with your grief at the same time. See, this is what's happening in the background that you're not paying attention to, because you still got grief on your mind, but you at the same time, you focus on this kid right here, and you focus on making sure that she's still happy, and make sure, because she about to miss her brother, and you want to make this landing as soft as possible, right? And so while you doing that by default, you also dealing with your healing at the same time, but you don't think about that at the time. You know what I'm saying? You're not thinking about that in default, because this right here, your healing and you dealing with this situation is running in the background while you helping the child try to keep her stuff up about it. about herself. Yeah, you got a fake smile on your face, but at the same token, with you smiling around the company and everything else is also giving you a sense of relief as well, though. You know what I'm saying? Trust me. Trust me. If you went down that road, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? And you got to use that right there to your advantage at that time. You know what I'm saying? Because you need that. Because I'm telling you, after that company leaves, baby, you stuck with that right there by yourself. That company only gonna be around for so long. You know what I'm saying? You only got yourself a good 2 weeks, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a strong month. If you lucky, you might have a strong month. But after that right there, baby, the rubber hit the road, and you're going to have to deal with this stuff right here by yourself. And then you're going to have to come up with different ways, and you know what I'm saying, to have to cope with different situations as they come, because they going to hit you at a random time, and you're going to have to deal with that and cope with that the best way that you know how to do, you know what I'm saying, do it at that time. At that time. You know what I'm saying? With no blueprint. You know what I'm saying? What you talking about? With no blueprint. You're going to have to learn how to do that now. For real. You're going to have to learn. There's going to be times in there where you're going to have to learn that when you feel yourself about to cry, you're going to have to smile. You know what I'm saying? To take down the tension. You know what I'm saying? To help them tears roll back inside them eye pockets. You know what I'm saying? To kind of like balance out your energy and stuff like that. When you notice that you about to start feeling down, you start, you know, you smile, and then you give off a chuckle. You gotta like kind of like laughing. You gotta do something, you know what I'm saying? You gotta, you know, do something like that right there. You know what I'm saying? For real, because what that does is it releases some of that tension that you got in your chest. It releases some of that anxiety, believe it or not. And it kind of helps. And you just kind of like learn how to deal with that right there. And then still have to learn how to deal with your everyday life, and, you know, just make sure everything is kind of like copacetic, you know, energetically amongst other people. It really freaking sucks that you have to really do that. But this right here is, you know, probably a way that I'm learning how. Only how I had to learn to do this right here is because of Junior. And that's what I mean by him, you know, teaching me on the other side. He teaching me now. I would have never did this type of work to this degree had I not lost my son. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that I lost my son and I figured a way where I know where he at and that I can get to him, the work that you have to do in the process to get back to him, you know what I'm saying, is what pretty much I'm going through. And like I said, it's just a journey, and that, you know, it ain't no right or wrong way to this thing. There ain't no right or wrong way to this thing. It just sucks, man. It really do. It really sucks, man. I just wish, man, you just could have just freaking stopped at the light, bro. God damn, man. Man. It's like, man, could you just stop at the light? You could have kept on I mean, come on, man. We all done did it before, bro. I get it. You know, but god damn, man. But nonetheless, it happened for a reason, though. This stuff happened for a reason, because those cars lined up at the right point, at the right time, at the right. It just freaking sucks, bro. So you just on the physical end, it does. It just sucks. But you know, the way that you got to deal with that right there, man, it just, man. That's tough, bro. I ain't gonna lie. You know, I hope I make it look easy, but it's tough. It do be tough. I ain't gonna lie to you. And you still have your days. You know what I'm saying? I don't care how tough it sound or how good it look. You still have your days as well, man. You know what I mean? You still have your days. Yeah, you still have your days. But nonetheless, now that this is where we at, you know, flat out, this right here is the side that we on now. So the thing of it is now is do the work, you know, and you know, within that first year, I would say within the first year of losing that loved one, I would say whatever it is that you got to do that you don't want to do, I would say do it within that first year. You know what I'm saying? To be honest with you, I still say, I still believe that it's best to do all the stuff that you don't want to do. I believe that you should do that right there within the first year of that loved one passing, so you can get a lot of that stuff up out of there, because you're not getting that stuff up out of there, and then years later you turn around and you just, just happen to scroll by a picture or something, boom, you down. You know what I'm saying? You look at a video, boom, you down. Practice looking at these things on a regular, so you could become familiar with looking at these things right here. And the more and more you look at them, the less effect that it have on you in a negative way. You know what I'm saying? That right there is a pointer that I would give. I would say, make sure that you keep a picture or something around, or something like this right here. Like for me, like if you're looking at this right here, like this is my hoodie. And I kept it around. This right here is my original hoodie that I got done. I'm going to get another one done because I couldn't take it off when I decided to paint and everything. So I got paint spectacles and all this other stuff on me, but I still wear it just like it is. I've been washed many a times and this stuff is just stuck in there, but it is what it is. This right here is original to me and I'm going to keep it that way. I don't care how I look and who got anything to say about it. That's just that, so you're going to be with me for real. You're going to be with me one way or another. And if I want to physically see you, I'm going to find you. I'm going to find you. It's just that's again, like I said, is when you do the work, you will look at it from a different standpoint. And that's what I've been trying to do. I've been trying to look at stuff from a different standpoint. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm going to tell you one more thing before I leave here. I'm going to tell you one more thing. I'm going to drop one more gem on you on when I realized that it was really time for me to do the work. This right here is what I realized. Last one right here, y'all. I'm going to get up out of here. When I realized it was really time for me to do the work, what happened? What happened? What clicked in me that made me realize that it was time for me to do the work? When I realized that no matter how many tears I cried, that boy is not coming back. When I realized no matter how many times I cried in the shower, in the car, in a pillow, on my own time, whatever it was, you know what I'm saying? At some point in time, something kicked in and said, it don't matter how hard you cry. I ain't coming back. You know what I'm saying? And you had to live with that. And that sucks to have to hear that while you crying, because that's what my spirit guide told me, and I wasn't even into thinking like that at that time. But something which now that I know that I'm recognizing now may have been my spirit guide, it told me that. Remember, I told you this stuff, that when that spirit talk to you, it don't always tell you the stuff that you really want to hear. But that's exactly what mine said. I could remember that like verbatim. Like, it was like, listen, no matter how hard you cry, you're not coming back. You don't want to hear that at that time, but your spirit will tell you some stuff like that. And when you really thought about it, it was like, that's true. It's true. Again. And it hit so hard because of what you're going through at the time. Again, spirit don't recognize that right there. Only you recognize that on the physical end. Your spirit don't recognize that at that. You know what I'm saying? The spirit recognizes telling you the truth. Now, how you take that and how you feel behind that, it's not up to the spirit. It's just telling you what it is. Ooh, that hurt. That hurts. But yeah. After so many days of just crying your eyes out, yeah, you realize either I'm going to keep on doing this right here and it's going to keep on hurting me. I got to do something. I got to do something. I just can't stay right here. But yeah, when I realized that I couldn't cry enough, man, when I realized it wasn't enough tears that I could bring back, when I realized that in me doing that, only kept his spirit away from me because I was feeling low. my energy being low won't allow to connect with his high energy. Remember I was telling y'all about the kids and how they energy operate. You know what I'm saying? They energy operate on a high level, on a high end of purity. That's the highest end of purity you're going to get in the physical realm, is the brand new baby. They haven't had a chance to sin and be manipulated and all that other stuff. They brand spanking new. You know what I'm saying? They haven't had a chance to do none of that stuff. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man, it's like, oh, man. But anywho, I'm not going to hold this thing up. You still human. You are spirit living a human experience. That's what you are. You are a spiritual being living a human experience. And that's the thing right there. That human experience part is what put the limitations on what you can do as a spiritual being. Your physical part put the limitations on what you could do as a spiritual being. As a spiritual being, you can make stuff move without touching it. You know what I'm saying? But if you've seen that type of stuff happen to you on the physical, it might scare you because you're not connected to that type of energy on the physical end. That's why I tell you got to do the work. If you was connected to that type of energy on the physical end, you can do that physically. But that right there is that's a totally different other story. I'm about to get up out of here, y'all. Y'all go check me out. Hey, Uncle Ronnie. And share this right here. If y'all think it can help somebody, man, share it with somebody. Another thing too, when I'm doing my lives, y'all, or if y'all see me on this thing right here, if y'all ever want to join or jump in, if you got anything that you want to say, you got anything you want me to speak about or talk about or anything, put it in a comment, hit me in my inbox, put it in the inbox, or, get it to me some type of way. I'll touch on it. Ain't nothing I won't touch on. You know what I'm saying? If I feel it's too personal, I tell you it's too personal. I can't do it. But my thing is, while I'm going through this journey, is to try to be as transparent as I can through this. And that means giving y'all the good, bad, and the ugly. You know what I'm saying? Because I done gave y'all some bad and I done gave y'all the good. And it's going to be like that. You know what I mean? It's not about giving y'all everything when everything is good and everything is on the up. You know what I'm saying? And that's the part I want to show y'all when everything is on the up. No, it's going to be some down times too. You know what I'm saying? It ain't just no perfect nothing where you just walking around this bad boy smiling. You done lost a child and you up here smiling like everything is just everything, because it ain't. It ain't. You got to find ways to maneuver around this stuff and find better ways to get your life back on track and starting all the way over from zero. You know what I'm saying? With pretty much almost everything, even the ones that's still here. Feel like you gotta start over at zero with them too. You know what I'm saying? But in all actuality, you starting over at zero with yourself. I don't know if you caught that. I said you starting over at zero with yourself. And you looking now from a different set of lens, because that did something to you. I promise you, I don't know what it did to you, but that did something to you. When you lost that child, it did something to you that you can't explain to nobody else. I don't know how to explain it to myself, to be honest with you, because that did something to me. That did something to me. When I lost my son, that did something to me. Hell of a, and it struck so deep that you hear me talking about on the spirit end, this right here really run deeper than that right there for me. And I can't even explain it to you. So these people that done, hey, it done hit you in some type of way. The thing about it is when it done hit you like that, what you want to do at that point in time, you embrace that right there and you deep dive into whatever it is, because that right there is going to sit you down. You know what I'm saying? That's going to sit you down. No, you can't explain it, but that is definitely going to sit you down, whatever it is. And if you don't sit down behind it, guess what? You're going to be dealing with that for a very long time if you don't sit down and deal with it. I'm telling you, sometimes that spirit is going to sit you down. You have no choice. You have to do it. is going to do that in situations like this. You done lost your mama, you done lost a child, you done lost your father, or somebody that was like really, really super duper close to you. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I was just over there yesterday. I was just there a few hours ago. Ain't nowhere in the world that just, man, this stuff will eat at you. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta have the right amount of discernment and discipline and accountability. I said accountability. Yeah, that's part of it. That's part of it, because that's one of the ingredients in what you about to go through when they sit you down. When your spirit sit you down, that's one of the ingredients that you about to taste. I'm let you know that right now. You can thank me later. But I'm telling you, man, it's just that, and it feels terrible. It feels terrible, man. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible feeling. And you'll get over it. You can feel that you will get over it. And over time, you can, because you'll start to see that you're able to do things that you wasn't, when you've been able to do stuff that you wasn't able to do before. Yeah. Yeah. See, that right there, that's almost like a double whammy for you too. You done lost it's people out here, yeah, they done lost their mother and a child. You know what I'm saying? Those people are not okay. They not okay. You know what I'm saying? They got work that they need to do. You know what I'm saying? They still thinking about some stuff. They have to smile amongst the public and the people and stuff like that. Like everything is okay, but deep down inside, there's some work that needs to be done because it's eating at them. And that's not their fault. That's just what happens. You know what I'm saying? If you don't know how to deal with that type of stuff, it'll eat away at you. You don't know how to deal with it. You find yourself coping and doing other things to try to mitigate that pain. You know what I'm saying? That you're dealing with. And then for other people that deal with people like that, it's almost like you can't really hurt them for real. Those people that done lost a child and a parent, shit, man. They done hit they max on they hurt for real. You can't really hurt them for real. The only thing they gotta do is do the work on themselves for the biggest end. You're not really gonna hurt them. They done been through too much. They had to see too much. They had to do too much. They had to come up with too much money. They had to, it was times where they probably had to sell dinners to bury their loved one and all this other stuff. And they had so much going on where sometimes you had to, put monies and stuff that you ain't even have time to grieve. You ain't even have time to properly grieve because you had to do certain things and put stuff in place and make sure this right here was there, make sure that was there, make sure this person was dressed right and all this other stuff. Then have to turn around and do it for your child, or then have to turn around and do it for your parent. Man, please. Please. So them people gonna be really strong if they do the work on themselves. For real. Them people right there do the work on themselves and really understand the type of work that needs to be done. Very strong people. Very strong people, because they done seen the worst of the worst. In their life, they done seen the worst of the worst. You done lost a child and a parent. Yeah, you done seen the worst of the worst. I don't think it get no worse than that. Outside of you losing a second parent and another child. You know what I'm saying? But that right there's going, But nonetheless, y'all, I'm going to get up out of here. Thank y'all for looking at this video. Share it, like, share, subscribe. Hey, Uncle Ronnie, YouTube. I'm going to get up out of here, and I'll get with y'all tomorrow.